All right, Dino Ken came to the shop, and unlike what I expected, he actually came to the shop, so it's not a hit the road bonus, but he does something interesting, as you might have seen. Saurian Fight means that while shield is depleted, it'll increase your ability damage by 20%, and then in the lead, it is 60%. Now, just for, as a comment real quick here, the hit the road is escorting Penny, and now you get tickets and gold. So if you're watching this upon the day of release, and maybe a week afterwards, that'll be relevant, but for those of you watching in the future, let's talk about this ability and what ability damage actually is. So I actually want to go all the way up to down here, see all stats. Ability damage is, as far as I can read right here, the amount of base damage dealt with gadgets, drones, and class abilities. However, I could not find any evidence that he buffed drones or Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush was the exact same amount of health each time that I tried to heal myself, which was kind of expected. And drones actually did less damage because his base damage, I'll show you this actually. His base hero damage was a little bit different than right here. Base hero ability damage was 19.4, and I believe the other hero I tested was about 22.4 or something like that. My point is, it was more, so I actually did more with the drones without him because of his lower hero ability damage. So not only does he not buff drones, he actually does less than a lot of others. Now, if you've never seen these kind of numbers before, I do want to clear up the fact that that is pretty standard amongst all Kens. You get the 19.4, 19.4, like they all have the exact same stats. And you can see, you can go through all of the different heroes and compare and contrast. 22.1 is, I think, what some other heroes I had that I was testing. It doesn't matter. My point is, he doesn't buff drones. And my bigger point is that he doesn't buff a lot of abilities. So I'm going to drag on the screen. Hopefully this will work while I'm recording here. Everything that I was... Oh, well, I guess we're going over here. Why not? You can see all my footage. So this is the health numbers from the Adrenaline, and then these are the things I wanted to test. This is what works. Throwing Stars, Minigun, Shock Tower, Rosie, Plasma Pulse, Teddy, and Lefty and Righty all do more damage. I'm going to show the Lefty and Righty. You can see it goes from 25,000 and 50,000 to about 30-odd thousand and 60,000, which is 20% more. But the Shockwave goes from 86,000 to what I could only imagine was about 86,000. So that brings me to the not works. Kunai, those daggers don't do any extra damage. Lynx's Kunai, her 140% bonus, I know a lot of people use that for Storm King, does not get buffed by this, which is not really a surprise. Warcry gets completely unaffected in terms of damage. You did not do any more damage from what I could tell. And grenades did no damage. I don't have any footage of the grenades or the minigun. I was testing this with Choo Choo. Some of these were tested by him. He helped me make this, so the grenades just don't do any damage. I'll take his word for it. Dragon Slash confused me again because of that base hero ability damage, so he does nothing to Dragon Slash, which is really unfortunate, because if I go back to the focus here, that 60% damage is more than the 25% damage that you get from Dragon Scorch. So I figured, hey, they actually gave this guy Dragon Slash. That's a big deal. This will be a big thing. No, it doesn't buff any Dragon Slash damage at all. That's it. But he does buff Throwing Stars. It does like significantly more damage, and it's actually pretty effective with that. It's doing over 123,000 per Throwing Star, which is a pretty good amount of extra damage to just have in your pocket. I didn't even test Crescent Kick because it's such a bad ability that I didn't even want to test it. I'm sorry. You can test it on your own. Maybe it does more damage, maybe it doesn't. Regardless, I don't think Crescent Kick is going to be really making or breaking your fights. I think you should just spam the ability anyway if you want to get some use out of it. Going back to my list, though, I want to just go back to say Dragon Slash does nothing. Seismic Smash did nothing. When I did it once, it did, about 69,900 something, and then it did 69,900 and something again. It was the same amount with and without. And then drones were unaffected, like I mentioned, and so was Adrenaline. So my point is, if you were not following any of this list, and you're confusing as to why I'm listing a bunch of stuff, he works on like half of the abilities. I don't understand what's meant to be happening there, because I want to talk about something else that I took note of. You have class perks, which are not class abilities. And then you have the abilities, which I would imagine are the class abilities. I want to get into the fine print here because ability damage buffs class abilities, which as far as I'm aware are the different abilities that heroes can use, and he only works on like half of them. So instead of a proper hero review, I'm basically saying that he doesn't work. If you're watching this in the future and none of this is true and they've patched a lot of this, it's pretty easy to test. What I was doing is just going into a mission with him and the hero I wanted to test, seeing how much damage I did, and then I took him off by replacing him with Swordmaster Ken, and that is because he has identical stats to the Swordmaster Ken, and Legendary Blade does nothing to anybody who isn't a ninja, so it's essentially like I'm not having him in my support at all. But however, I am getting all of the stats, so it's like I can have him without his abilities, and I felt like that was a pretty good way to test it. Unfortunately, I found that it just doesn't work half the time. Now, on the positive side of things, when he does affect the ability that you're trying to buff, that's a great thing. Hey, 20% is solid. It doesn't really matter about his 60% lead because he himself only has 3 abilities, which is, like I said, Dragon Slash, that doesn't work. Throwing Stars, which get a lot better, which, okay, maybe he's the best Throwing Star ninja, maybe. And then Crescent Kick, which is so bad, I don't think he could be saved. He's nice if you don't have Blast from the Past. It's the same thing I said about Vigor, because she is also just hilariously bad, except that she's actually bad. Like, the ability damage is good, and Ken is a legitimately good hero when he works, but Vigor is like the slowest healing method in the entire game. My point is, if you don't have any other dinos, then yeah, you can go ahead and get Ken. I recommend buying him anyway, if you don't have Blast from the Past, of course. Iza is a cornerstone. I use her in pretty much every Blast from the Past loadout. Get her, get Triceratops, get Jurassic, and get all the dinos, because any of these could change at any point, and I am certain that they are going to fix it. But that's it from me, guys. We did not test every single ability in the game, because at a certain point it got a little bit redundant. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what else to say. It seems to work more on the ranged weapons, like the Teddy seems to do more damage at range, and the minigun seems to be affected, but other things like the shockwave and the grenades don't work. So maybe there's a little bit of correlation there. If you guys want to test some yourself, maybe complete the list. Maybe I'll pin a comment if anybody wants to go ahead and test every single ability in the game. That'd be pretty cool and frankly unnecessary, because the reason I didn't test every single ability is we got to the point where we were testing abilities that weren't even that good anymore. Like Dragon Slash is a big one. That is something you can use with Blast from the Past and make a big difference. In fact, recently in my Hit the Road loadouts video, link below, I talked about Dragon Scourge, and this is the exact loadout I use for Hit the Road. It's very, very good, and I use Blast from the Past. If I could go ahead and just replace Saurian Might with Saurian, Saurian Fight here, I'd love to do that. Make my Dragon Slash do more damage? Hell yeah, but it doesn't affect Dragon Slash, so that would be a dead perk, and until that gets fixed, I don't really see too many other abilities that he's actually going to buff. Lefty and Righty was a good example of something that I tested because the stream wanted me to, but it's not an ability that you'd ever want to use with Blast from the Past because the cooldown is so intense. You basically want to use Happy Holidays, and you can use Happy Holidays, however, you're only going to get that Saurian Fight bonus when you don't have any shield, and I'm not really a fan of intentionally taking shield damage. So there you go, you guys. He is one of the best dinos that doesn't work. I do think if he works fully functionally, he's going to be a great alternative for ability-based loadouts. Otherwise, he's just not working right now. If you guys want to support the channel, feel free to use code Mista to check out. If you guys want to get some other perks, you guys can see the member perks right here. You know, support the channel, help me out a little bit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. And then